Welcome back to If Oak Trees Could Talk. Today we will continue with part 5. I hope you have a nice cup of coffee or tea in hand as we pull up a chair and listen to more of If Oak Trees Could Talk. There was never anyone who encouraged me like my mama did. I recall that she once had this old straw broom that she swept the floors with. There was barely any straw left on one side where she swept so much. This was my chance to do something special for my mama. I took some new straw, a piece of baling wire, and a new hoe handle that I bought with money that I earned myself at Harper's hardware store. I made my mama a brand new broom. I thought I had done a pretty good job on it. The smile on my mama's face made me swell with pride when I presented her with her new broom. Every time my mama would sweep the floors with the broom, she would sing. I thought she seemed to smile more after that. I was so encouraged by my mama's smiles that I made making brooms my life's profession. Although it was not a glamorous profession, this talent made me a nice living. I built brooms and sold them to Mr. Harper to put in his hardware store along with many other hardware stores throughout these United States. I eventually took over our local hardware store after Mr. Harper died. Nah, it wasn't glamorous or anything, but I was able to make a nice living for me and my Helen and little Amelia. I sure hope, like my mama, that I was able to help a few folk along the way. What more can you expect to do in a life, old friend? Nothing more, I reckon. Old friend, does that old swing still hang from your longest limb? I was so happy when Dad hung that old swing up for me. I think I was probably about 8, no, maybe 9 when he hung it up there for me. Do you remember that I raced home every day to swing? I tried to make it my goal to go higher every day than I did the day before. Do you remember when I jumped out of that silly swing and about broke my full neck? Fortunately, instead of my neck being broken, it was only my left arm. I recall it was only a few days before school was out. That summer was one of the longest summers of my life. I couldn't go swimming or anything, and darn it, if my arm didn't drive me crazy with its itching that could not be scratched because of that hot and heavy cast. Why, I said it was one of the longest summers, but it wasn't all bad. I seem to recall that I met my little darling Helen during that summer. Henry yawned as his thoughts began to run together and his eyes grew heavy. Sleep was imminent, but yet he tried to cram all that he could remember into a safe place in his heart where he could pull it out when he needed to place another piece of his puzzled life together. He thought of his sweet little Amelia, how she loved that swing, probably as much as Henry did when he was a child. He pushed her for hours when she was a little girl, and they talked and talked about what they both were going to be when they grew up. Henry was of a mind that he was never going to grow old, for when his Helen was by his side, he always felt like that little 9-year-old boy. He and Helen would romp and run and play with Amelia just like children. Sometimes she acted older than her parents did, but they had a wonderful life full of laughter and love. This was a life that Henry was determined to find again. Maybe with the oak tree's help, he could figure out how to get their lives back. Helen Elaine Myers is her name, Henry whispered with a smile. Do you know her? She and her family moved into the old Honeycutt house down the street. She's sure a pretty little thing, isn't she, old friend? I was just thinking of that Helen Myers down the street. I bet she would really love my swing. What do you think? Yep, she would love it. I wouldn't push her very high, though. I wouldn't want to make her afraid of heights. Can I tell you a secret that no one else knows? I think I'll probably marry that little pig-tailed, blue-eyed girl one of these days. Yep, I know that I'm only 9 years old, but when I'm older, I'm going to marry that sweet gal if she'll have me. You just wait and see, Henry smiled mischievously as he told his old friend good night. Talk with you in the morning. Henry mumbled as a peaceful sleep came to him for the first time in weeks, and he held his Helen as tight as he could to prevent her from ever leaving.